the right to know. And that's stupid. The reason I don't think you need to create an initiative for the marijuana thing is that before you did that, you'd get all kinds of good legal advice, and then you got put it through the Attorney General's office. And then even after it goes through there, that isn't proof that it isn't any good.
I haven't been able to really find out much about, record as far as anybody supporting or being totally opposed to the marijuana issue.
Well, what they'll say is you're going to make pot smokers out of everybody, and it's too easy to get. Those are all obvious things. And then it doesn't do you any good to say you can do it in England, because England's so far away, nobody knows where it's at. What doesn't work in a case like this is probably more important than what does work. And that brings me to a point I want to make now. A public relation person's major portion of his time, or hers, is spent keeping things away from radio and TV and magazines and newspapers. Now that's really your biggest single job. Because in regards to what you're doing, somebody can find something bad about it. Everything is fair game, and they're going to find something bad about it. Now, who did I tell about the kids drowning up here in the swimming pool? Oh, well, let me tell that story, because this is a real good example of why you need, to the community that you're in, why you need to get next to the press. And I'm talking about the people in radio, people in television, people in the newspaper. In those days, we did not have a Spokane magazine. But we even had good relations with all of the regional papers. Well, here's what happened. Out here where the parking lot is where the field house used to be. It would have a swimming pool here. Good one, big one. And the swimming pool was always open to the public of Cheney, was open to the students, and for many years there had been a continuing program of having the people from the retarded people, what do they call that place over there now? They don't call it retarded anymore.
Lakeland Village.
Lakeland Village people over and go swimming. You know, maybe like once a month. I don't know how often. I think once a month or something like that. And so this particular time, and there's about 40 of them generally came, 2 busloads, I think. They came with their chaperones, 5 or 6 chaperones that they have with them. We had 4 lifeguards up there. Long about 20 minutes after the swimming had started, somebody come up and asked for some kids, and 3 of them were laying on the bottom drowning. Now, somebody playing grab ass or something and not paying attention to what's going on. I don't know what happened. Nobody ever knew what happened, because they couldn't ever pin anything on it. But they drowned. So what we did was got a hold of their folks. We got a hold of their families and told them first. And we kind of put a lid on the whole situation up here and kept everybody in the building and didn't let them out until we contacted the parents. So we got a hold of the parents, and we told the parents we were going to try to keep it out of paper, spare them all the grief and agony that they could. Now, 2 of these parents we had a hell of a time getting them to admit that they were their children. People put their kids over there in Lakeland, and they don't tell their relatives about them, they don't tell their neighbors about them, and they try to forget about them, and they never go see them. Lots of them. They want to take them out of their mind. So 2 of these parents absolutely refused to acknowledge that they were their children. And we got them to do it. All of this taken about 3 hours. And then we told them, well, we keep it out of paper. And they said, oh boy, that was great for them, because they didn't want anybody to know that they had children over there. They didn't even tell their own children. Their own children didn't even know. And this is quite common. Well, to make a long story short, because of the relationship of the public relations director of the college at that time, Henry Kozlowski, and me, we got a hold of the press and we called them up and told them about it, and then told them we didn't want to put it in the paper. We didn't want it on TV or anything. Well, it ended up back on page 9 somewhere, a little bitty article about this big, and that's all anybody ever heard about. And it's a good thing, because it didn't embarrass the parents. You couldn't bring them back to life, and there was no negligence at all. Of course there was, but you couldn't pin it on anybody. But that is an example. There have been all kinds of things in the oil business. There are all kinds of things in General Motors and Ford.
Things out of his pockets, little articles, little scraps of paper. And one time he says, oh, look at this, an ad for bikini underwear. Oh, this is Candy bikini underwear. Oh, puts it back in his pocket. Well, I need that. Then he says, Mary Ann Windelbein, you wear bikini on? Oh yeah, sure you do. I seen them on you.
Gonzaga's been against anybody coming to Spokane ever since I have been here 22 years. Nobody's ever heard anything bad about Foy, and I could run off a list 700 miles long, you see. So could you on any other politician. Magnuson had good press up until they just couldn't tolerate his drinking anymore. And he made a real jackass out of himself several times. And so then the press blew the whistle on him.
Hello. Well, never have a radio voice. In '69, I was fresh off the boat from Hong Kong. Shortly after I arrived and I checked out the campus, I went to that old rundown radio station at the old Student Union building. You remember that? So not that long after I started school there, I went to see Dr. Hopf. I said, Doctor, I think I might have made a mistake of picking the school. He said, why is that? I said, well, I'm really serious about pursuing a broadcasting career. I'm not so sure this school is big enough for me. He said, kid, you know that Frank Stanton and I went to Ohio State together? That's where I got my PhD, and the only reason why Frank Stanton is running CBS instead of me is because he's married to the boss's daughter. So that night when I was sitting down writing a letter home, I said, Dear Mom and Dad, I think I picked the right school.
If you were put in charge of public relations of something where someone was, the press didn't like you already, you were coming into that.
Oh, well, you sometimes can't shut people up, and there's nothing you can do about it. Anybody'd be stupid to come into a situation thinking that they were going to shut somebody up when no one else has had any success very often. People just have got an insatiable desire for publicity, whether it's good or bad.
Don't you run into problems sometimes with the press getting a little bitter about if you say something like when they're asked to break the law by withholding information or something?
They're not breaking the law. There's no damn law says the public has the right to know. And that's stupid. There's no law that says, I know people think that, but that's not true. Public doesn't have a right to know. They can't handle it.
I'm Sam Smith, and we still haven't figured out when the hell I graduated yet. I was there during the transition from the old building to the new building, and the contractors and all of that. One of the things that Howard wanted very, very badly, he was in love with it almost, and you heard it almost every day around his office in those days. It was not sexy or anything, it was Battleship Linoleum. He was in love with Battle. It made the cameras run so smooth. You had to have, well, the school wouldn't buy it because it was something like $30 or $40 a yard or something, so they would not allow him to put it in the budget. for the new building. So he did the next best thing. He wrote out the specifications. Why in the hell they let him write the specifications, I still don't know why. But they did, and it had to be a concrete floor in the new building, and there could be no cracks in it. And every time he said that, he'd laugh, because he says there's never been any concrete poured anywhere that didn't crack. And this was true. So they poured the concrete, it cracked, and he went on and on for about 4 months with the contractors and ended up with a nice battleship linoleum floor.
Public doesn't have a right to know. They can't handle it. They don't have a right to know anything, particularly about military. It's one of the toughest public relations jobs there is now. It used to be the easiest. Used to be a breeze. Because no one would ever print anything derogatory about the military until Vietnam. That's the first time. Senator George Aiken of Vermont, who is dead now, used to said one time when Vietnam was about halfway through, that what we ought to do is to call everybody together and tell them that we won the war and bring everybody home. Come home with victory. Probably would have been the best thing to have done.
Also, Doc was really nice too. I think I got a D in Lou's class one time for news film because I missed a radio shift. Actually, I came in a half hour late, and Doc said, "That's it, you're out of here, you get a D." So, thank you, Dr. Hopf. You've really screwed up my transcript.
You can run everybody out of government, you can run everybody out of the sheriff's department, you can run everybody out of City Hall because they're all crooked. Enough to be run out. And so is everybody else that walks, for the most part. But it depends upon what you want to do to them. And the deciding thing with the press is, the people who run the press, the owners, is there any chance of doing any good? Now let me give you a fine example of that. About 15 years ago, the Denver Police Department was corrupt. And they discovered that they had X number of warehouses full of stuff and that the police had stolen. It's unsolved crimes and all kinds of things. So what they did is they cleared out the whole police department and they brought in the premier criminologist in the world from the University of California, Los Angeles, and made him chief of police. In 2.5 years, his police department was twice as corrupt as the one that he brought there and they cleaned the house on. Now, there's no way of keeping people honest. Absolutely no way.
I should be better at public speaking than I am. I'm a little nervous about doing this, but I must say that I think, in addition to one other person, I'm the only student who ever slept in Howard Hoff's bed. Obviously, I'm not giving my name. My name is Barbara Burke, and I graduated in 1980. And Howard Hoff was going on sabbatical, and he was hard searching for somebody, or searching hard maybe, for somebody to live in his house while he and Mrs. Hoff were gone. Dr. Hoff always says, if you want sex, you gotta ask for it. And so all I remember is trying to decide how I was going to sleep in this bed where Dr. Hoff probably asked Mrs. Hoff.
People get divorced and they marry people just like the ones they got divorced from. And there's no way of finding anybody that's honest, for the most part. You know, athletes are the biggest cheaters in the world. They're the world's worst. I know, I've been there. The horse race people are all cheaters, you see. The automobile drivers are all cheaters. They put things in their cars that they're not supposed to have. They all got those illegal equipment on their cars. All the front runners are going to have illegal equipment on them. If somebody doesn't blow the whistle on them, they're going to get away with it. Out here at the funny car thing, half of those cars are going to be out there There's 8 of them, I think they said on TV last night. 4 of them at least are going to be illegal.
This was the funniest thing I ever saw him do, although there were a lot of them. I don't remember what class it was, but it was upstairs in the new building. And you know Dr. Hoff's files. Okay, his cabinets were his life. Everything he ever touched was in those files. Every piece of paper out of his pocket. He never locked them. He had no keys to those cabinets. Well, one day somebody comes into class and said, Dr. Hoff, I accidentally locked one of your cabinets. He lost it. He made half the class go down. They picked it up. They hauled it up through the elevator, up the stairs, into the classroom. For the entire length of the class, all our subject was that day was Dr. Hoff on the floor with a drill, drilling the lock out of the cabinet, screaming how stupid this person was to have locked his cabinet. The whole front of the cabinet's totally destroyed by the time he is done. And I swear to God, I wish I had it on tape. It was the funniest class I ever had. Dr. Hoff on the floor with a drill.
Mothers lie to their children, will lie to their husbands, and vice versa. It's just a way of life. There's no way of being honest. Well, you can't expect the press to be honest when it's got people writing it.
I ran into Dr. Hoff in March of '86. He'd retired. And he said, I'm retired now. And in class, he always talked about Ms. Hoff, Ms. Hoff. And he loved Ms. Hoff. He really did. Never said Gladys during our era for some reason. But he talked about she had a stroke. Did you folks know that she'd had a stroke? You knew that. And he took care of her every day. And I bathed her, and he just really loved this lady. And it was one of the neatest things. But he could never acknowledge that love toward his students. But you just knew that was there. And I saw him in '86. He goes, Ms. Hoff died. Ms. Hoff passed away in late '85. For you folks that didn't know that. And I said, what are you going to do now? I'm just going to get a boat and sail around the world, he said. Called Sacred Heart in May of '87. I'd heard that he wasn't well, and it was a Friday night, and I talked to the nurse. I said, well, is Dr. Howard Hoff there? Oh, yeah, he's out of surgery. And she said, he's great, and he's just the nicest old man. I said, he's the nicest old man. You never had him for advertising, you know. I had heard that he passed away on July 3rd. I had heard that he passed away on July 5th, and you know that somehow upstairs he worked it out to make it the 4th of July. You know that. Thank you very much.
I wasn't going to do this because it's an extremely poor taste, but somehow it's very fitting this evening. The first day of intro, I think there were 18 women in a class of 100. He said, I will have all of you gone by the end of the class. No woman belongs in radio or broadcasting, no woman. And so he proceeded to tell the story of how no woman had ever been raped. It was physically impossible. Because, unless they were knocked out, because they can cramp up on you, you see. They would just cramp up on, I know Miss Hoff has cramped up on me. Like there were 2 left by the end of the day. And years later, I talked to him 10 years later, and I said, I think it was John. We were on the phone with him, and he said, do you remember Robin Eicherman? Oh, the blonde girl with the big breasts. So you see, he knew my name, but when I asked him, why did you do that? Why did you do that to me? He said, because I was so aware that women had to be tough because it was still new. And I wanted you to be aware of how tough you had to be. And I applaud him for that, and I applaud you for coming out tonight because this has been more fun than we expected. Thank you.
There's no damn law says the public has the right to know. And that's stupid.
Now, I know that you're used to me always telling success stories in this class because, well, that's what we're trying to breed into you dumb sons of bitches is some success-oriented thinking. But I'm going to tell you a failure story today just to give you the other side of the coin. In radio, there's about 2 people in the whole country that have any goddamn talent. I want to tell you about Dave Friedman. This is just classic. Well, he left a perfectly good job at KEZE in Spokane where he didn't even have to work so he could become a goddamn rock jock. Stupid son of a bitch went to Great Falls, Montana. Great Falls, Montana! You know where that is? Well, of course you don't.
And that's stupid.